Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly, presented by Excel Boats, along with the Dr. Tim Lang and Cindy. I am Lyle, and we are live at our own houses for a change, Doc.
Yes, we are.
You've been gone for a while, dude.
Yeah, I've been gone for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, that's a long time to be
I've been
be
on
away
the
from home.
I've been on the water like 22 straight days.
22 straight days.
Yeah, so
Did Luke miss you?
nah.
He didn't miss you. He's kind of happy when he's over at your
Yeah,
daughter's house anyhow.
yeah. He likes being over there.
Man,
He
we
can
got a
hang
bunch
with
of
he can hang with the grandkids and stuff like that. So.
we got a bunch of stuff to go over tonight. First thing I want to do is let everybody know that I got a message today from Brad Cox over at Springfield, Illinois. He runs the Catfishing for Veterans tournament over there every year. It's a yearly event. We try to help him out with that as much as we can. This year, before he got ready to do it, we had a little issue with our internet, and we didn't get to talk about his show like we had planned on. But he sent me a message today that they are going to raffle off a 2020 ProCat 240 with a 250 Suzuki on it at next year's Catfishing for Veteran tournament in Springfield, Illinois. He just got the tickets in today. And what they're going to do is they're going to raffle off 1,000 tickets for $100 each. After paying for the boat, the rest of the money will be given to the veteran shelter over there, and that is like a retirement home for military personnel that are no longer in the military, retired, and so forth. It's going to be a really huge deal, and they will draw the winning ticket at the Catfishing for Veterans tournament next September. So if you're interested in a chance at that new boat for $100, you can contact Brad at 217 206 5677. You can also contact him at the Catfish for Veterans on Facebook or B&R Marine in Taylorville, Illinois to get the tickets. I think this is a really outstanding deal that they're doing, and it's going to bring a lot of money to that event. We try to help him every year as much as we can with that, and it's a great deal to do for people that have given so much. And a lot of these guys are in these places because they have nowhere else to go. So $100 is a chance at a brand new 2020 ProCat 240 with a 250 Suzuki on it. That's a heck of a deal, and I think a lot of people ought to get involved with this in a big way to help them out.
Yep. Hey, and we can give a shout out there to Bryson, and Noah from Size Matters Outdoor. Welcome tonight, guys. Glad to have you in here.
Absolutely. That's great that we got those guys in here. I would like to go over, if it's okay, the results to the Mississippi River Monsters tournament where we've been at the last week. They had 125 boats registered, 293 anglers, 217 fish were weighed in with a total weight of 3,940 pounds. They had 31 veterans fish this event, so it's pretty good. Anglers from 20 different states. The gentleman that won the boat, his name was Zach Frostbinder. He was Greg Olala's partner in the boat. Congratulations to him. That was a great win for them, and that boat will now end up in Wisconsin. So good job on that. Big fish of the event was caught by a girl that you and I know very well. It's a good friend of Cindy's and I, Diane Stone. Yeah. Her and Terry fished that event. They lost their depth finder before the thing and was on the verge of going home. They'd set it down on the side of the boat or in the seat or something. It bounced out going back to the motel or whatever happened there. I'm not sure that they really know, but they was down in the dumps and bumming, and I would have been too, as anybody that would have lost their depth finder 2 days before a tournament with nothing to use, no marks, no anything. But a guy had an extra one, loaned it to them. They got confirmation that the insurance company was going to reimburse them for that, so they'll be getting a new depth finder. and went out and put Diane's personal best, 68.7 pounds in a boat. It was a great fish. She was shaking all over. I was so happy for her. She just they're such great folks, and they make a lot of these big events, and they do a lot of local tournaments. Their area over in Illinois, and I was just thrilled for those two. They really worked hard at it.
She's in.
And I'm sorry.
She's in chat. I saw her in chat.
Bless her heart. I just, Diane, she walked up and gave me a hug and a kiss after that, because she's still shaking that night. And I woke up really early the next morning when we was all getting ready to go back home, and seen them before they left. They left really early because they had an 8-hour run, and she had finally quit shaking, but she was still pretty wound up. What great folks that is.
I'm still shaking.
Yeah.
I think when we went by them, we saw her fighting that fish.
You very well could have.
I mean, if they were on the inside turn on the inside of a red buoy, confirm that with me, Diane, then we did see her catch that fish.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, but that was cool. The winners of the tournament, that was pretty good job. What they did.
Yeah, absolutely. First place with
thinking outside of the box.
That's right. First place with 128.34 pounds is boat 33, Terry and Lisa Haraway. Second place with 127.87 pounds was Robin East and Edmund Crowder. A great job by them guys. Third place was 119.87 pounds, boat 41, Scott Kress and Carl Crone. Fourth place, 117 pounds, 0.48, Carson Pierce, Cy Dooley, and Austin Pierce. Fifth place was 115.81 pounds, boat 27, Jason Jackson, Frank Castle, and Ryan Casey. It was great to see them guys down there. I believe that Jason has got a check at every MRM event. If I remember him and George talking about that up there, I believe that to be right. And the only other team I know for sure that has got a check in every event, I believe, is the Massengill brothers. Sixth place was boat 94, Brad Stout, Billy, and Bobby Littleton, boat number 94. Seventh place, 108.56 pounds is boat 42, Joe Hardy, Barry Wilson, and Fonzie. Mackleham, I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. Eighth place, 106 pounds, 0.73, boat 72, Brad Box, Wesley Box, Nick Dabino. Ninth place, 106 pounds, 0.41, Daryl and Jason Massengill and Matt Bingham. And 10th place, 105.62 pounds, Ryan Lawrence and Mark Blaubill. We're not going to go through the rest of them. You guys can go to the MRM page and get all that information. It's all listed there.
Yeah, and they paid down 10 spots this year.
Yep. So great weigh in. I think everybody had a good time. One of the things, Doc, that got me, what was it, Wednesday when you come over, or Thursday, you come over where we was set up to weigh fish, and you took a picture. And that picture was taken in the shade of that thermometer sitting outside. It was 102 degrees in the shade. So
it was hot that day.
And it had been hot the entire time.
Yeah, that was the day after I got sick on the water.
Yeah.
So I was still trying to recover from that. And at first, everybody thought that was a set of scales.
Right.
When they saw it. So.
Well, it wasn't scales. It was just that hot. And it was a lot of fun. I had a great time down there, but we always do. And, that's just the deal. Now, last week, Doc, we had some stuff going on where people donated things back and they wanted to give them away to veterans. And we're going to do that. But we left right after we done the show last week and didn't get back until yesterday late. And there's no way I can do that stuff not being here. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up on our Catfish Weekly page, there'll be a place where all veterans can enter their name and what branch of the military they was in. And they'll sign up there, and then next week we'll go through and give away all those prizes to veterans. And we might even add one or two, but we will get that done. And also the Possum Kingdom Guys tournament for the giveaway for that. I talked with Brian today. We was going to do that tonight, but we haven't figured out exactly how we're going to do it. But we'll have a spot also on our Facebook page, and you will be able to sign up for that. Now, we give it away 4 times last week, Doc, and everybody was honest enough that they couldn't make it, and they told us they couldn't make the Texoma tournament. So that is part of the deal with the Texoma entry. You cannot sell it. You cannot give it away. If you can't use it, you have to let us know, and we'll give it to someone else. And we're going to keep giving it away until somebody can use it. That's the fair way to do that, but we didn't want to rush around and get things done wrong. We wanted to make sure that everything was done right. So it'll be next week on the giveaways for the veterans, and next week on the giveaway for the Possum Kingdom tournament. And with the Possum Kingdom tournament, we will do this a few times a week until it's giveaway. But remember, we're going to have the Possum Kingdom boys on the show probably in the next week or so. We haven't got an exact date. They want to make sure when they're able to do it. We're going to go over a bunch of stuff with them for the PK tournament. They have some new things to talk about. Of course, we'll also talk about the Texoma event and go from there. Doc, we had a bunch of negative stuff posted on Catfish Weekly's Facebook page over the weekend. And I'm going to tell everybody that Catfish Weekly does not tolerate negativity posts of any kind from anyone. If you don't have anything positive to say, your post will be removed. Now, we've always had a 3-strike rule. If you do things wrong 3 times, you're gone. Well, now we've reduced it to 2. There is no sense in that. We're not going to tolerate any negativity. So the first time we'll remove the post. The second time we'll remove you and the post. That's a terrible thing to do. It sets our sport back. The only thing that's reasonably close to setting our sport back more than negativity is trailering events at catfish tournaments, and we're just not going to have it. So remember that. I encourage all other major websites or anybody that has a lot of followers to do the same thing, because the sooner we get rid of negative people and negative posts, the better off that we will be. So just bear that in mind when you make your post.
Yeah, we try to keep it positive the whole time.
We want to keep it positive, and we want it to be family oriented. We have a lot of kids that watch this, and some of the posts that we made was extremely derogatory stuff that kids shouldn't be reading, and they will be gone immediately. It really wasn't about Catfish Weekly. It was about other things. And we're going to get into that just a little bit, because there's a lot of people talking about things they know nothing about. And if you don't know about things, you probably shouldn't say anything at all. It's a lot better for everyone. But I wanted to let you guys know about about that, and about the Possum Kingdom giveaway, and about the veteran stuff. Like I say, once we're gone, for as long a period of time as what we was going on. I wasn't gone near as long as Doc was. Doc was gone for 3 weeks. Holy crap. I don't know how you keep up with it.
That's my job. That's what I do for a living now. I'm home. I tell people now, I say, I'm home on vacation for 9 days. And then I go back to work.
That's awesome. That's
I'm going
awesome.
to meet up with Jason and Vicky, and we're going to fish New Madrid. And then I'm going to fish Monsters on the Ohio. And then I'm headed to PK. Then I'm going to North Carolina and play golf with my daughter and my son-in-law. And then I'm going to Alabama, and I'm going to fish a whole week down there.
I'm on board with all of it except the golf thing. I can't get interested in that.
Golf.
Yeah, that's great that you do, because
Yeah.
I'm not going to do any of that. Now, if you figure out how to do that with the rod and reel, I might be in.
Well, when I was in high school a long time ago, always carried a rod and reel in the bag because I'd always hit the ponds as I was going around.
Well, you worked a long time to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. And I don't know if anybody saw the posting from Monsters on the Ohio, but this year's female angler at the Monsters on the Ohio, they're honoring Lynn with that trophy for that.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty good. Aaron called me on the phone. Well, he actually called Chris because he knew I was with Chris and asked for permission. I said, "Oh man." I said he got me all in tears and stuff, but I thought that was pretty cool.
That is way cool, way cool. I see that post.
Yeah,
I was so happy.
Whoever that female is handing her that award, so I'm looking really forward to that.
That's great. I had a visit this morning on the phone with Sonny Parker. Sonny had that accident we was talking about last week. Sonny was on his way to his first day back at work, which I thought was a little soon, but I really am not a doctor, so I can't make those kind of calls. But I see Sonny has made a post in here that he's watching from a hospital bed. He is back in the hospital. He was on his way to work this morning. They told him he could go back to work, and on the drive in, he sneezed. Now he's got blood in his lungs, and he's getting ready to see the trauma team. So please remember Sonny in your thoughts and prayers. He's really been struggling with this, and he's had a tough time of falling in that boat. And it just goes to show, Doc, Sonny's quite a bit younger than you and I. So it can happen to anyone at any time. He's a pretty sure-footed guy. I hope he gets to feeling better. But yeah, it's a tough deal that he's going against. And I understand from Cindy rattling the cage, it is time to spin the Rig Wrap prize wheel.
Yes, we are.
Well, I happen to have them names all loaded up. So if you give me a number, Doc, I'll just spin her up.
Let's go with number 3.
Number 3, 1, 2, 3. And the winner is Maurice Carson, Carson. Congratulations, Maurice.
Maurice is on here every week watching.
Every week, one of our loyal viewers. Chubby Fish Outdoors, Maurice, if you'll contact Chubby Fish Outdoors and tell them that you won on the Rig Wrap prize wheel, they will hook you up with a prize package from their selection of products in their store and ship them out to you. Thanks so much for watching the show every week, Maurice. And Chubby Fish Outdoors, thank you for being one of the great sponsors that we have with products on the prize wheel. All right.
Oh, Doc, I got a couple of hot spots for Monster on Ohio. Hit me up. Okay, Swamp Diver.
Heck yeah.
I can use all that help I can get.
Absolutely. I was going to go into something else, but I see that my old buddy Chris Workman is in chat.
Oh, boy. I can see where this is going.
Yeah, for Chris Workman and all of your buddies, how about them St. Louis Cardinals? I know that you're bawling your eyes out, and I'm laughing really, really hard. I'm enjoying it so much because the Cardinals will be in the playoffs this year. I'm pretty sure the Cubs are not going to be. So, congratulations on that, Chris. I hope that makes your day. It sure makes mine. Tim Berger with All-American Catfish House. We got a bunch of big-time people in the house or in the chat tonight, Doc.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. We're glad to see everybody in there joining the show. We've got a bunch of people watching. We're going to be spinning a little bit more here in a little bit, so be sure to stay tuned. I want to visit with you a little bit, Doc, about Sam Brooks and John Raines. I know you've known Sam and John for years, just like I have.
Long time.
They've been fishing catfish tournaments longer than a whole bunch of the people that are talking about them has been fishing. They have probably caught more and bigger fish than most of those guys have also.
Yeah.
There's not a finer couple of guys that go out and do what they're supposed to do. They never keep fish. They never do anything out of line. They never cause any drama, and yet they get ridiculed because they do something. And I'm going to tell you guys a story of how that big fish come to play in Memphis, Tennessee. As Doc knows, we sit down there in that heat for a couple of days weighing those fish. We done the best job we could with what we had to work with. The scales are pro tournament catfish scales. They're made to weigh fish in weigh-ins. John called me on my phone and wanted to know what time the weigh-in closed on the big fish event. And I told him 3 o'clock. This was a little after 1. He said, we're going to be there. We think we have 100-pound fish. And I promise you, Sam Brooks knows what 100-pound fish looks like, because that's not the only time he's ever caught one. And they come back to the weigh-in, and I've never seen a boat live well, factory live well, filled as full as that one was full of one fish.
Yeah.
It was absolute stud. We weighed it at 112.91 pounds. Later, those scales was checked with the official scales that was at Bass Pro Shops, and they was exactly to the 100th of a pound the same. So there's no question. Now, Andy Tweed, being the conservation gentleman that had to come down and verify the fish and all the weights and all the stuff that you had to do, told me that he's seen a lot of fish bigger than that. And I know that he has, and I'll get to that in a minute. But him and I both thought that fish, when caught, was probably closer to 120, because they start losing weight immediately. They start dispelling water that their body holds and all that stuff. But that fish was in a live well set up for big fish. It was never, ever, regardless of what these whiny wannabes have to say, that fish was as happy in that live well, slapping that water with his tail. He wanted out, but he never was in any duress, ever. He never puked in that live well. He never did at any time, unless it was after Bass Pro stopped people from coming in, because they do not allow hardly anyone back in their thing. You cannot take pictures. You cannot do videos. And the pictures that are allowed, they go through them to make sure that you can't see anything that's inside that building. And I understand that. I would be the same way. That place is cleaner than a lot of hospitals and doctors' offices that I've been to in my life. And they have the greatest setup with three marine biologists there with that fish the entire time. Sam Brooks weighed his fish and put it back in the live well. He pulled away from the dock, headed back to the main part of the river where that fish was caught to release it. And he got some distance away from the dock, and there was a guy standing there, and I'm sorry, but I can't remember your name. And he told me, he said that fish could be the new state record. He had looked it up on his phone, and the state record was 112 pounds even. And I hollered at Sam. I said, Sam, that's possibly a new state record. Do you want to check to see if it is? And he just waved his hand. He wasn't interested in a state record. He just wanted to get the fish back to release. I said, Bass Pro has called, and they want the fish, if you will allow them to have it, for research. And that got his attention a little bit. So he pulled back over there, and he said, I don't care about records or none of that stuff. He said, but what kind of research are they going to do? I said, they're going to test it for PCPs and mercury levels. They're going to test it for age. They're going to see its growth rates and a list of stuff that I can't remember now that they do that takes time to do. And he said, now, let me think about that a minute. Now, what people don't understand is, Andy told me that they stopped boats Kentucky or Tennessee is really good about checking commercial fishermen. Illinois, Missouri, a lot of the other ones, they don't check them near often enough. But they check these commercial boats, and they check them when they have caught 120, 30, and up to 140, maybe bigger fish in their nets, and they won't let them have them for testing. Them commercial guys take them to the market where they're chunked up into catfish nuggets that they sell. And Sam knows this. He's been around a long time. He's caught a lot of fish, won a lot of tournaments. Most people get mad over this fish deal because they know they can't outfish him and outcatch him. He's a very quiet guy for the most part. He never has anything bad to say about people. I consider him and John both very good friends of mine. And Sam agreed to let them take that fish. And Bass Pro come over with a huge tank and 3 little girls and 1 guy. And Doc, I swear, I would have bet money that those girls and that guy couldn't have got that fish out of the live well and into their tank. And they wouldn't even let Sam help them. But they put it in a what do you call them? Swing. It's like waist sling. They lifted it up, and these girls' arms are about that big around, and they'd done this before, and they lifted it over to the other boat. They slid that baby in there. The fish it never struggled in one time. Not one time. They got that fish down in there. They released it, and it's swimming around that tank, and then they took it back over to Bass Pro Shops. That's where the testing and everything is done in conjunction with the TWRA. I visited with 3 of the biologists that was with the TWRA Saturday at the tournament. They confirmed everything that Andy had told me to be true. They go in there and do the testings. That way they can tell how devastating those larger fish are compared to the smaller fish. If someone doesn't have access to do testing on the big fish, it's not the same as testing a 10, 20, 30, 40, even a 50-pound fish. Their diet is different. Their growth rate is different. Their age is different. Everything about them is different. If the guys that catch those big fish in the nets will not let them do it, then you have to get somebody like Sam. Sam released that fish to them guys for the sole intention of being tested. And yeah, they're going to put it on display for about 1 million little kids to see that will never, ever see a big fish like that other than the way this is done, and a whole bunch of adults. And for the people, the keyboard cowboys and wannabes that want to build their websites and their Facebook pages and their YouTube pages that's running all this lip service, if you was not there, you have no reason to post about it. You have no reason to talk about it. So just closey and shutty. You don't know. You have no clue. They're not going to tell you until the results are done. And there's no reason to stir drama with 2 guys that do more for the sport than most of you guys ever will. And that's why there will never, ever be drama on Catfish Weekly, period. I don't care who it is. That's pretty much my spiel for the night, Doc.
All right. Let's
what?
talk all about it.
Time to spin. Let's spin. Pick me a number, Cindy Lou. 1 it is. And the winner is Matthew Wonderich. Wanderich. Let me move out of your way. Out of the pen. And the winner is Hooker's Terminal Tackle. Matthew, if you will contact James R. Wood and his crew over at Hooker's Terminal Tackle and tell them that you won some Mad Catter hooks on Catfish Weekly spinning the prize wheel, they will hook you up. We're so happy that you're watching the show, being a part of Catfish Weekly. And James R. Wood, thank you so much for everything that you do. You're such a great part to our sport and the entire sport of fishing. And we thank you from the bottom of our heart for all the stuff you do for us. All right. What else we got to go over tonight, Doc?
Well, because I didn't get away any fish in, I spent quite a bit of time over there talking to those biologists. And actually, I learned some things about, I asked them, what can we do as tournament fishermen to make it better for the fish in our tanks? We all kind of do things different. I can use a combination of water jets and oxygen and stuff like that. You've got the new boxes that are out, the extreme oxygen boxes, that kind of stuff. And that's all good. But here's the analogy that the biologist gave me. And he goes, I'm going to make it straight, sweet and simple for you. He said, catfishing the big fish is like playing football. He said, you've got the guy that's in the end zone waiting on the ball to be kicked to him. They kick him the ball. He catches the ball, and he is literally running for his life to keep from getting killed by all the other guys that are trying to tackle him. He said that's the same thing it goes when you hook a big catfish. He is fighting, he's exerting a ton of muscle and all kinds of stuff. So he says, here's what happens when you get that fish in your well. He said something that you can do to make it better is already have the water oxygenated. He goes, I know most of you guys wait till you catch a fish, then you put the water in the well. He said, go ahead, put the water in your live well. And if you have oxygen, turn it on, saturate it, get it saturated so that when you put him in there, he's going to settle right down. He said, if you watch your football players, as soon as they get done making that touchdown, they run to the sideline. What's the first thing they do? They grab the oxygen. They sit there and they start, pulling on the O2. So he said the same thing goes for a catfish. When you got him in the live well, if you've already got the O2 in there, it revives him that much quicker. I really didn't think much about that until he started explaining to me how that worked. So I thought that was pretty good, what he told me.
It's very good information. And just so everybody knows, I wasn't feeding them a line. The gentleman making the negative comments in chat is no longer part of Catfish Weekly. I told you guys I will not tolerate it, ever. He is now missing in action.
You can't give him too much oxygen. So
no, that's true. That is true. Now, I will tell you that the setup that was in that live well with that big fish in 102 degrees, he had two of the air things that come out that comes from, what was the name of that company that makes all the I'm trying to think of the name of it. He knew it. There are two little inlets that come in from that, and it constantly having fresh water going in.
Flow-Rites.
Flow-Rites. He had two Flow-Rites in it and a constant inflow and outgoing of fresh water, and that fish never, ever was in any duress. I was very impressed at the way that was. And Sam told me that he said, and I agree with him, as long as you've got some kind of oxygen air system going into that live well, and as long as you have fresh water going in and stagnant water going out, the fish will survive. And I believe, as I believe he does, that the fresh water going in and old water going out is probably as important or more important than anything. I really believe that. Now, we do have oxygen setups for our boats. I use them in hot weather. There's no need to use them in cold weather. But to be honest, we don't use them that much. If the fish would happen to look like they're in trouble, then yeah, we're going to do something. But other than that, no. But I did notice that some of the guys down there had ice in their live wells as they was weighing fish. And Doc, I got to tell you, this is the first Mississippi River Monsters tournament that Cindy and I haven't fished. As you know, you fished a couple of them with us.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great time. I enjoy that tournament as much as any tournament that we go to. And it was really hard not taking a boat. My truck didn't know how to act going all the way down there. Cindy just kind of bummed around. She just wasn't used to going down there and not fishing. But we agreed to try to help George this year, and I got to tell you, I had an absolute ball down there. And I hope that everybody enjoyed what we done, because Glenn worked extremely hard trying to get the live feed going to the best he could. It's terrible internet reception down there. Phone service is not that hot. I thought the stuff he done at the captain's meeting went very well. But it's just tough getting out down there, and you have to have internet extenders or whatever whatever it is to make it better, because where that is located, getting out a repeater. Yeah, it's just extremely hard to do that. But I absolutely had a blast, but it was hot and it was tiring. It was great to see Jody down there with his staged, another bang up job. From his crew. He had 3 young boys from over in Arkansas that they brought over there, and along with Jarrett's son, what's his name? Josh. Jarrett. Yep. Those guys worked their tails off hauling them fish over, and the TWRA had 2 great big tanks that all those fish went in. They went in, they was on oxygen, they weighed fish even after we weighed them. All the fish was measured. They tagged them, they put them in there. As soon as they was good to go, they hauled them over to the river and put them back in. Nothing got released unless it was ready to go. They took very good care of them. Them guys done a heck of a job with that. Proud to be around them. And if you had questions to ask them, they was very good about answering them. They tell you anything you wanted to know, unless it was something they was not allowed to discuss. But the whole event went off very smooth. George done a bang-up job. The hardest working person there was Carrie and her sister, Bucky. They worked really hard and done everything that they could to make that as smooth as possible. There's always a couple of hiccups, but them girls are top-notch, a class act, and I was impressed with the way the whole thing ran. Hey, Landon, how you doing? All in all, very fun week for me.
Bottom feeders fishing, I'm not sure. Give me a second here and I can tell you.
Doc has his stuff wrote down, tied down, dates and everything organized as well as anyone I know.
Go ahead, Lyle. I'm going to see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm messaging back and forth with one of my good buddies, Mr. Cliff Miller. I wish Cliff would have been down there. I did get out in a boat while I was down there, Doc.
Todd, you went out with who? Dusty?
Dustin and Todd Sipes asked me. They had been trying to bump for 2 or 3 days and was struggling with it. And I was thrilled to be able to go out in the boat with those guys and try to help them a little bit. And within about 10 minutes, we had them going. Dustin had one on. And he forgot he had a circle hook and gave her a big old jerk and pulled it out of its mouth. But when you get your first fish bumping, hey, Stacy, welcome. It's kind of hard to do. Hi, Sarah, because they're trying to take that rod away from you and you're trying to keep it in your hand. So he just got a little excited, but they both picked it up very rapidly. Once we figured out what the issue was, and they could, as long as they can feel the bottom, I knew that if they got a bite, they could catch fish if they just, do it. Thank you, Matthew. But yeah, I had a great time down there with those two. I spent a couple 3 hours with them out in the boat, and my buddy Jeff Dodd lost a lower unit the day before the tournament. I pulled back in with Todd and Dustin and walked up the hill, and Jeff's boat was sitting there. He'd always had a little tick in the lower unit, and the lower unit locked up on him. Felt so bad for him. I told him if he hadn't had one and he didn't have a boat he could get, that I would drive back to Missouri, pick up our boat, and take it down there to him. But he got a boat, another new boat, and they hooked him up so he could fish the tournament, because you got to have a boat for Bill Dance. And he fished with his brother, and it was awesome. They had a great time. But, like I say, all in all, it went very well. And I spent lots and lots of time with marine biologists and people that actually make a difference and know what they're talking about. I learned a great deal from those guys. I thought I knew stuff that I really did not know. And that's why I made the statement I did a while ago. If other people would wait until they put judgment on, they would understand why that is, because even as from Tennessee to Missouri, the way they do studies with the rivers and the current situations and all things is so much different in Tennessee than what we have in Missouri, even though it's not that far. The way things are done, they do it correctly, and they can prove it to you. So until you know what you're talking about, the best thing to do is not make derogatory comments and make up stories about things you don't know nothing about. Luke Hinges says, tell Doc hello. Good show so far. Thank you, Luke. That
Thanks,
come
Luke.
from Facebook.
When Chris and I were at Pickwick fishing for skipjacks on the Thursday we were there, Tennessee showed up with their shock boat. We tried to get them to turn the thing on while we were fishing for skipjacks so we wouldn't have to stay so long. But they just kind of laughed at us, and they went all the way up to the dam. They weren't there very long, and then they loaded it back up, and off they were gone. So they must have got what they wanted to get, and then off they went.
Well, Doc, you remember me telling you and talking about what at the time was the biggest catfish tournaments in the area or anywhere, when they had the Cook's Boat and Motor tournaments out in Louisiana, Missouri. You remember those? I used to tell you about them.
Yeah.
Okay. The last one they have, I believe, is 107 boats, and nobody had a 100-boat tournament, to my knowledge, when that was done. And they give away new boat, motor, and trailer. I forgot where I was going to go with this, but anyhow, parking was always an issue in this and that, but everybody left out of there. It was a very smooth run tournament, and those guys had it going on. So this deal with the trailering and stuff, it's the only thing that I know of that's harder on fish than negativity is people trailing fish, because that's where all the dead fish and tournament fishing come from. You rarely see. Now I will tell you, there was one dead fish turned in Saturday. I noticed it immediately when they opened their live well, where they weighed their fish, and was disqualified before it went any further. It was all done right there, because you can't weigh dead fish. Now, if you pull into the thing and there was fish in your live well and you had one struggling, you couldn't get up there. If you contacted them, they would let you weigh that fish, but you had to contact them. You had to contact them. And if you didn't, then that cost that guy his weigh in, but it was all good. The guy understood, took it very well. He understood the rules. He knew the rules. So that's the way it is.
Yeah, Luke. Thanks, Luke.
Old timers.
Yeah.
I guess he's talking to me too. I thought he was going to let me slide tonight, but I see that's not the case.
No.
But that's okay, son. I can take it.
So hopefully, and Lyle, we need to let everybody know the last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, I've been gone and stuff like that, but we've had some real issues with the program that we've been trying, and that's why I haven't been on here. Yeah, and I was in a hotel, and the signals are real weak because you're sharing it with somebody else. But hopefully, we have that all in the past.
Yep, I think so. And we're going to work on. I got one more thing to look at before we go on with what we're doing. I think it's going to work out just fine. And Sonny Parker is in chat tonight, even from the hospital. And his issue and the thing he wanted to talk about, and him and I talked about this on the phone, is people throwing them fish into live well tubs and into the water. Those fish have never been throwed anywhere. They don't know what it's like to hit hard top of a water, hard surface, the bottom of a boat. People are going to drop fish. You just got to do the best you can with that. Try not to drop them too much or too far because they don't know what it's like. And when they drop very far, even if they're belly flopped into the water, they're very good chance they could do internal damage. And that's something that them fish allow you to catch them. If you're going to throw them back, just lay them in the water. It's not a big deal. I mean, I'm with Sonny on that. I think that is very poor to throw them fish in there. I think that you should release them or let them slide out gently. They don't know what it's like to hit that water and hit them ways or the bottom of a boat or throwing them in a live well tub. I think that's something that all of us need to take into consideration when they're doing that. And Team Reel and the Blues, you are correct. Over the shoulder pictures of those giant fish is bad also, simply because they're getting put in positions that they don't know what to do about. They can't do anything like that. They are not designed to be resting on a rock on the bottom of that or the bottom of the river. And even if they was, they'd be buoyant, so there wouldn't be no pressure on them the way they do that. And I know it makes some cool looking pictures, but consider what you're doing to the internal working parts of those fish. So, it's a great topic to get on. Maybe we'll talk about that again. Yeah, you're right, Carl. And putting them in there. I mean, we always try just to lay them in. I'm thrilled that they allow me to catch them to start with. More room, more live well room, less fish. Dieter, I've been preaching that for years. I agree with you 100%. We was the first ones in our area in the Midwest to have 3 fish limit tournaments. I see no reason for large fish tournaments, whether it be catfish, blue cats, or flatheads, even the larger channel cats. 3 fish limit is enough. 2 fish limit, anybody could trip on 1 fish in any tournament. I can name some guys that have done that a couple of times. The only time they ever catch a big fish. Anybody can trip on a big fish. You might trip on 2, maybe. Chances are slim that you would trip on 2, but nobody's going to trip on 3. And there should be a minimum standard for live wells in boats for tournament fishermen. If you're going to take the fish home and you're going to eat them, chances are, if you're a responsible guy, you'll take home smaller fish, so it really doesn't matter. But if you're going to release these fish, and I also believe that all fish should be left in a live well with an air system of some time and recirculating water to revive before they ever get released. I think it's just a good practice. That's just my opinion. But a 3 fish limit, Steve Johnson's, we do a 3 fish limit in our catfish tournaments. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. That's great. But when I'm going to tell you something, Doc. I don't know how big the live well was in that sea arc down there the other day. And I know that
85.
It's how much?
85.
85 pounds?
85.
I know for a fact that Sam has had over 200 pounds of tournament fish in that live well before and never lost a fish. But that live well was full.
Yeah,
it was full with 1 fish.
Yeah.
I don't care whose boat or what kind of live well or whether it was custom made or not. When it's full, it's full. And that bad boy was full of fish.
Yeah, because he told me he said, he goes, look at this. He said, this thing, because he was there when Lynn caught her 88. And he said, this thing's as big as Lynn's. And he said, he's up on his side just like Lynn's did. And I mean, I don't know why that's, maybe that's the comfort for them when they're in a.
I'm not sure that can lay sideways in there.
But
it was that big.
When he rolled it over, on his back, he started going crazy, and he just wanted to lay right there on his side. So
that was a heck of a fish. I weighed a lot of fish in the 100-pound range. I'll just leave it at that. You're right, reeling the blues. Constant flow and water exchange should be mandatory. But that fish, the minute they would move him, he'd just go spastic inside that live well.
He went nuts in that thing.
And
he couldn't turn around. I think that's why he'd get mad, because he wanted to go to the other end, and he couldn't turn around because
he could not. There's no way. It was street. The only way you could get him, you couldn't just lift him up out of there. You had to turn him in the position he was looked at in that live well to get him out. Because it was too big.
Was wide.
But I agree. Yeah, I agree. O2 helps. We keep them systems. We don't always use it. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. But we always have it available to our fish. I believe it in some instances it makes a world of difference. Pardon me. But I also know that Doc, in his boat, when we caught that flathead and turned in our fish the other day, they checked his live well, and it had one of the highest percentages of oxygen of all the tanks they tested that day. And Doc, you did not have oxygen in your live well.
No, I just had. This is exactly what I had. I had one of these Flow-Rite.
Yep.
Can you see that? That's what we're talking about.
There you go. That's a Flow-Rite.
Flow-Rite. It pulls air in at the top, right? Let me get it here. Okay, there's a hole right here. Air goes in the top. Flow comes in this way and blows out this nozzle. And that nozzle, it creates a lot of pressure with the pump pushing on it. So, but that is what we're talking about when we're talking about Flow-Rite. What's nice about these things is they're adjustable. So you can, move it and move the stream any way you want in that live well. If you want it recirculating around, if you want it going straight down, you can do that. But these things are pretty awesome. I've always used them, and I still continue to use them.
Yeah, I did. Luke Hinges, thank you for your donations. I'm not sure Doc and I are ready for diapers just yet. But we'll bear that in mind. Cindy had to come over and seen it on the chat that I look at on this program. I did not see that. But thank you so much for that. And I guess whichever one of us need them first, we'll take and do that. What a hoot you are. Man, oh, man. I wouldn't expect that out of him, but I wouldn't expect that out of anybody else. I probably would expect it more out of Luke than anyone. Oh, man, what a guy. What a guy.
So I'm getting ready to set up the live well in my boat, my new boat that's sitting down in the barn, and this is what I'm putting on it, Flow-Rites. So that's great. When on this Alumacraft that I have, we took all the stuff that is plumbed to the original live wells in that boat is made by Flow-Rite. So when I added my custom D&T live well to it, I drilled 2 holes, one for the inlet, one for the outlet. And that's the only thing I had to do to the live well and the where the hoses come through the back wall. And I measured them and done them exactly right. They come through there, they hook up. So if at some point you don't want that big live well in there, you take it out, pull the hoses back through, hook it up to the original live well that we are now using for a dry box. And you have the original in there. And all you have to do is quick connect together the return off of that, because I did have to cut that to make it reach because of the way it was bent. But you just have to put a coupler in there, connect that back together, and you plug them Flow-Rites right into the original live well. And other than the 2 holes, which you cover up with a piece of carpet, nobody will ever know that anything was ever done to that. So the Flow-Rite makes some great products, and they make a really good live well air system. It's just top of the line. Somebody just Adam Isaac. I got these off of TNH Marine.
He's doing that.
They weren't. They were like $30, so that's not bad. For keeping fish alive.
You can also get their stuff off of Amazon. And when I ordered the stuff for myself, I contacted them directly because I needed to talk to somebody because I wasn't familiar with their product. Now I am very familiar with it. They was really good about helping me over the phone and making sure that I had exactly what I needed, told me how to measure different things and all kinds of stuff. So they're a great company to deal with. I consider their products very reasonable for what they do. And if you're looking at something, they're no way, shape, or form a sponsor or have anything to do with Doc and I, other than the fact that I called them on the phone. I'm sure they've already forgotten who I was by now, but they was extremely helpful and have awesome products. And they done a bang up job last week on that fish.
Mine was Team Kathmandu. Ours, that tank that I had, it was, what was that, Lyle? 82%? Is that what she told us?
82%. Yes.
Yeah.
That's an awesome deal with not having oxygen. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
They said it was one of the greatest.
It was boiling in that water.
Yeah, she said that was one of the top tanks that she had checked, one of the top live wells, even the ones that had oxygen. And why that is, I don't know, but they have a meter that they stick a probe in and they can test the oxygen level in the water. And I couldn't believe Doc didn't have oxygen on it.
Yeah, because she goes, wow, your oxygen is really concentrated real well. I said, there is no oxygen. I said, it's all Venturi flow.
Yep.
And I had the air bubbles on there.
Well, I attribute a lot of that, Doc, to the fact of the air bubbles being so small that it diverses out into the water so well with those small bubbles compared to the larger ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had Flow-Rites now in 2 of my boats. I had Flow-Rites in my.
I cannot hear you.
I had Flow-Rites in my first boat, and then I had Flow-Rites in my sea yacht. I changed them out.
I don't believe there is any of our sponsors that
No.
sell the product. It's something that some of them should look into because they are a really good product. The quick disconnects that they have for Livewell and connections and stuff, they are awesome. They really are. That's what I got in touch with about. And they've got the size hose you want. You don't have to go down to O'Reilly's or the auto parts store and try to find the exact size hose because they got it in stock.
Right. And what's nice about this thing is, if something gets in here, a big scale, a chunk of something gets in here, it shouldn't, but we all know if it's going to happen. What's nice about this, it's got an O-ring. There's an O-ring right here, and it fits in there pretty good. And you can also tighten it up with the nut that's right there. And then you can adjust this anyway. But if it does get clogged up, and I know the last tournament I fished with Ken Lewis, we had a scale get caught in here. And all we did was we unscrewed it, pulled it off, cleared it out, put it back in there.
That's awesome.
Really, really, really nice. I really like these. I recommend these to anybody that's a tournament fisherman. They're pretty bulletproof. I know Jason Mathena, what he does with his is he's got a hose that he brings in on the top here where this air injection system is. He's got a little hose that he puts in there. So the other thing is that you guys need to be doing is, even though you got all this stuff, you need to open that live well, especially if you're driving down the river. Open the live well, let that air get in there and get rid of those gases that these fish let off in the live well. You can have all this stuff in there in your live well, and if you don't get rid of those gases that are in that live well, it just returns right to the water.
That's exactly right. We keep our live well door open a lot, but they do make an inlet and an outlet that it takes air in and expels out the other side. That's a great idea for those. And for whoever was asking about how to spell that, it's FLOW, I think -RITE, I believe.
Correct.
So
and the ones I got are MPH-PSN-100. These are Flow-Rites.
They are great products.
Takes a standard 3/4 hose.
Right. Right. And like I say, your return that goes out the back of the boat, I don't know what size you are. I think there was 1.5 or 2 inch on this Alumacraft. Some of them are even bigger. The one on my tractor is like 3 inch, but they've got it. Anything you need, they've got it all, and they will hook you up. And like I say, I didn't think that they beat me up buying direct from them. They was, even if they was $1 or $2 higher, the information and all the stuff that they helped me with was very well worth the extra amount of what they did. So it was worth it to me to have their knowledge and them help me get all that stuff done.
Yeah, and I know the new Livewell I'm setting up. I'm setting it up. It'll have oxygen to it, just in case I need it. Just because I want to keep them fishing real nice and cozy.
Muskrat Adventures wants to know what kind of Livewell pumps you're going to use, Doc.
I've got probably, I haven't made up my mind yet. I've got some 1100 rules, which is really that's going to be a jacuzzi for them guys if I put those in. If
Team
not, I'll probably go with an 1100 pump.
Yeah.
1100 gallon pump. The 750s I don't think are quite strong enough. I mean, you really want a good solid flow off of one of these things.
That's right. Team Real in the Blue says a 1.5 can keep up with a 500 gallon at no problem, and that's exactly right. That's what's in my boat, and that's fine. Now, if I'm going, when I replace things, I always go bigger. I somehow feel bigger a lot of times is better. That's not necessarily true, but they don't work as hard. But I like a bigger hose going out the back. On the original setup that we had in our tracker, we had electric pumps in and out. But from now on, they'll be ins and outs, and 500 gallon would probably be enough. So
yeah.
Cindy says, Doc, that it's time to spin the wheel.
Okay.
Cindy, give me a number. 1. Come on now. This mouse has got to go. It's terrible. 2. And the winner is Robert Swanson. Let me back up so you can see. Woo! Catfish Clothing. Robert, if you will contact Matthew Miles at Catfish Clothing, tell him he's a winner on the Rig Wrap Prize Wheel game, watching Catfish Weekly, he will hook you up with one of his hats, shirts, something that he's got out there, and send it to you. Thank you so much for watching the show, being a part of the Rig Wrap Prize Wheel game. And Matthew, thank you for being a sponsor on Catfish Weekly. You've been on there for some time. We appreciate everything you do for us and for everyone else in the sport. Doc, how about a tip of the week tonight?
Yeah. Well, this is going to be real quick, and it's just an experience that happened. Everybody needs to carry a set of vice grips in their boat.
I know where this is going.
A good friend, and I'm not going to say his name, but I can tell you this much. He's a towboat captain. And he snapped his wheel off on his Sea Ark.
His steering wheel.
Steering wheel. 3 spokes and snapped it off clean. Now, can you imagine driving a 24-foot Sea Ark with a 250 Yamaha like this all the time? So he's hunting all over trying to find a pair of vice grips so he can pop the cap, grab a hold of the nut. And I started teasing him. I said, if you get the vice grips on there, then you're at home, because that's how you steer when you're on the towboat. But that's Doc's tip for the night. Carry a pair of vice grips on board the boat. You don't ever know what you're going to need them for, but it may come in handy. It's a little bit easier to steer a boat if you run into that problem.
That's exactly right. Doc, I know you're so prepared. You have so much stuff on your boat and in your truck for things that can go wrong. Because let's face it, you and I faced a lot. I've seen a lot of things go
Oh
wrong
yeah,
over the years.
more
But
so for other people, not for me, but for other people, because a lot
right,
of people are not prepared.
that's exactly right. And for the guy that you're talking about, we both know who he is, and I bet he never in his wildest dreams expected to break off a steering wheel in
Yeah,
his boat. I mean, that's just crazy. Thank you, Benji. It's great seeing you too. Um, who breaks off a steering wheel?
yeah. I just
That's just nuts.
and he got in between two tugs, and he said the prop wash. He said it was just it it was washboarded everywhere. He said he didn't see the one wave that hit the front of the boat, and he said his knee came up and just snapped it. It just hit the bottom of the wheel and it just snapped it right off.
Wow, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. He's a nut. He's a nut. He's a great guy,
Yeah.
and there's no reason for that to ever happen, but it did, and it is what it is. So I bet the next time you see him, that there will be a pair of vice grips in his boat.
Well, I'm sure he'll have them in there.
Yep. I just
Be almost positive. We teased him when we got back.
uh,
We all stayed at a house, and we got back, and he was showing us the steering wheel. He goes, "Look at this! It was clean." And then I looked over at the steering column, and I said, "How in the world did you drive like that?" I
oh
just can't
man.
imagine trying to do it.
I had one come off and break off. I don't remember exactly what happens, but I did, and we had two pair of vice grips, the ones with the long noses on them, and I clipped them on each side of that and steered it like this. And that was many many years ago, but you know to have that's almost new boat that
Yeah,
happened to. So it's a really
yeah,
strange deal.
it was
But
crazy.
yeah, pliers. Adjustable wrenches, keep them oiled up because they'll rust if you don't, and vice grips and stuff like that is a great thing to have on your boat, uh, and a Phillips and straight screwdriver also. But
Yeah,
vice
'cause you're
grips,
always, it just seems like, especially when you're in that kind of environment where that boat is getting tossed around and moved around, and you bang into things. And the one thing that he said he did have on was he had a kill switch attached, so that's good. I like that. I used to not wear it, but I noticed I spent I spent time with Hugh and Rose Thompson on the boat, Chris Souders, Jason and Vicky. We all were wearing life jackets, and they were wearing the kill switch lanyard.
yep,
So, because
that's
you
good.
never know.
You don't.
Never know. Anything can happen. There's so many freak accidents. I don't know if anybody see where the guy in a bass boat was just flying along, and then all of a sudden they hit something, his partner rolled over, and he took out the guy that was driving, and they didn't have a lanyard on, and
Yep,
turning around.
they
It was
almost
a
got him.
wild looking video.
It almost got him a couple of different times. So
Yeah.
they was very lucky to get out of that. And then at the end of the video, if that's the one I'm thinking about, another guy had run over there and bailed out of his boat in the back of that boat to get in it so they could get it stopped. Another one of those videos I seen, it actually run itself up on a bank or a sandbar or something.
Yeah.
But that kill switch is extremely important, but the life jacket's probably the number one safety device in a boat.
Yeah. James Bickett. Yeah. If you're talking about Audie Hammond, I'll bet he does.
I bet he does too.
Yeah, because he's been tossed out a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and strange things happen. They happen to all of us at different times, but there's no sense for asking for any more trouble than you have to have. So hopefully everybody will learn something from watching those videos. Some of those YouTube videos are extremely helpful. Others are not, but
Lyle, will you guys be doing videos at Monsters on the Ohio? Nope, not this year. Lyle and Cindy aren't going to be coming, and I'll be there fishing. So,
what you better be doing. Did Lyle get blocked up again? No, I'm not. Not that I'm aware of. I did notice that the guy that was causing the trouble there was making fun of me on Facebook. But you know what? I'm an old guy. I'm a big tough feller, or used to be. I'm not as tough as I used to be, but I can take his BS. And if he wants to make fun of me for taking up for two of the great guys in our sport, then that's fine. And I still will stick with what I said. You was people that was not there should not be talking about things they know nothing about in any shape or form in the conversation. But I usually don't get off on these rants, but there was so much negativity on that. There is no reason for that. No reason. Great fish by a couple of great guys. And Doc, you know what Sam would say to all these guys? In fact, he told me this the other day. I know you know. You've heard him talk about it before. If you don't like what I do, I'll give you a two-finger salute. That's Sam Brooks for you. That's the kind of guy he is. He don't care whether you like him or not because he knows most of you can't catch near the fish he does.
My dog is being a pest tonight.
Your dog has missed you for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else tonight, Doc. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Please don't get mad for voicing my opinion. That's how I feel about it. Thank you, Dieter. I know you do. I told you the same thing today. But negativity is so bad for our sport. It will be the downfall of it if we don't watch out. And some of these clowns that are spreading this stuff, there's no reason for them to say things that they know nothing about. Just the way it is. Other than that, we're going to be back next Monday night, Doc. Are you going to be around?
Yes, sir. I should be. I should be home.
I never know anymore, man. I don't know where you're going to be or what you're going to do. But you know what? We talk about every day.
I can look at my schedule here. I'll be around.
We talk about every day, and we stay in touch a lot. And I'm so glad that you're able to get out and do them things. Again, Cindy and I had a wonderful time in Memphis this year. We didn't get to fish, and that was tough for us because we always fish those events, and we're definitely going to miss Monsters on the Ohio this year. But we was committed to PK, and we're going to be down there. And the Possum Kingdom boys are going to be on Catfish Weekly. So you be sure to be watching for that. We'll get all of our stuff set up on Facebook pages where you can add the veteran stuff in there and you can sign up for the giveaway. We'll get all that straightened away. Be watching for it this week. So I want to thank everybody for watching Catfish Weekly and being part of our show. For Doc Lang and Cindy Stokes, I'm Lyle Stokes. Thanks for watching. See you next Monday night.